In Phantom Pros, there are a total of 9 classes. Some are for new players and some are for experienced players. I will be listing all the classes with experience on how useful they are and how utilizing they are for enemies and bosses. Now for Bomu Bomu no Mi, the most common class in the game, which I hate getting because it's the most common one. Overall, I never imagined I use this. This only has 2 moves as of now, which I think is forever, which one of them sucks because it does no damage to any enemies, because it's bugged for me. The best move being Z, which shoots out a fireball, which is horrible. Low damage, overall, a trash tier. Now for Hamon class. It is a very good class for starters that you can get very cheap with only 500 pros that needed. It has 4 moves, 3 being attack moves and 1 being a charge move. V being the energy charge move, and the other 3 rely on the V charge to deal damage. So Z is the best move in my opinion, with the other moves being a decent damage attacks. Overall tier, C tier. Okay, it's time for Mera Mera no Mi. It's a class that will be decent if it hit most bosses. The damage itself is a little bad, but better than Bomu Bomu. It has more skills than Bomu and better AoE than Bomu. However, it is very bad with damage and cooldown. It is not the best, but you can't move while using attacks, so you're pretty much vulnerable, and you also can't attack bosses with the best skill, so it's not very versatile. D tier. If its C move hits all the enemies, it will be a C tier for sure, but overall, it doesn't hit bosses, so it's a D tier. Now for Hie Hie no Mi, having only 2 moves and good range and good damage. It is also one of the best classes you can get at the start, and maybe even mid game to end game, in my opinion. The cooldown is low and it has good range. It also does good and high damage against bosses and enemies itself. The X being a high damage move if it hits. Solid B tier. Well, another solid choice like Hie Hie for killing bosses will be Zushi Zushi no Mi. It is very easy to acquire. You can do massive damage to bosses while blocking 90% of the time, if you use your moves and block. Its Z skill is a decent skill, basically like a Bomu Bomu Z, except better. However, that's not the best skill in the entire class. The X and Z skill are meteor skills, which deal heavy damage to bosses. It's not very good for individual enemies that move, but for the World 1 bosses, Daedro lands, it's very overpowered. With V skill being a gravity move that basically presses down around you, dealing high damage as well. Overall, another solid B tier. Now we're moving on to the rare classes, such as Mochi Mochi, being a very good class, but its movement skill winning the fastest in the game without bug. It also has good AoE and range skills that can deal heavy damage to bosses. Overall useful class, A tier. 領域展開無料空所 Now Limitless in my opinion is one of the worst classes, with its best move G skill originally letting your guardian arms attack, now doing nothing. Z is a decent range skill of low damage and a long range though. So X having high cooldown, it actually deals heavy damage as well as good AoE, except the cooldown is insanely long. C is a beatdown with a high cooldown and a great single target, except it doesn't attack bosses, so it's pretty bad. And then V is an overpowered skill that has long range and bad AoE, I guess, medium AoE, I would say, but it doesn't hit most of the time, especially to bosses. It does not hit bosses. And then G, I already explained it. So overall tier, I'd say C. For Sukuna, the case is different. It has a total of 8 skills, with the first 3 being very close range and decent damage. The G move, however, changes its 3 skills into ranged AoE skills, as well as good damage and AoE. I think I already said that. But the V, it adds a V skill and a G skill. After you use G skill once, you can use another G skill to use domain expansion, which deals heavy damage a lot of times, and it's also huge AoE. However, you're stuck in place. I think you're invincible though. The V skill is Fire Arrow, dealing high damage twice and huge AoE. It's also very good range. So overall, S tier. If not the best class in the game, it might be the best class after Toji, or maybe even better than Toji, depending on where you are in the game. Now for the class Toji. It is also known as Toji Heavenly Restriction THR. It is the best class in my opinion. If you have good stats, then you can do high critical damage if you have high crit chance. So I recommend you have, if you have over 35% crit chance or 35% and over 10 times crit damage, which I recommend using if you have Toji. Then you can deal heavy damage with a C and Z. With X, if you have a trait on your weapon, you can deal a lot of status effects. So you can deal a lot of damage and inflict a lot of status effects with good range. The Z being a close range, but it's heavy nuke. X is very close range, but a lot of attacks if you're attacking a boss. C is a very long range attack with high damage as well. So overall tier, if you have the good gear, then it's better than Sukuna, an overall S class. And that's it for the video. Anyways, that's all the classes in the game. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.